Well, hello everybody, and welcome again to Kathy, Andy, and I with our post-election astrology and roundup. And today, I think we're just going to focus on one person's chart, our alleged president. Anyway, but first of all, I'm Louise Edington, Cosmic Owl Astrology. I would just like to mention that my Venus retrograde class is like selling like crazy, but the price goes up tomorrow morning to the full price, and the to pay option goes away. So sign up today if you watch this today. And I also have a membership and other things on my website, louiseeddington.com. Cassie or Andy, which are you?
I'm Kathy Biehl. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. I have a torrent of forecasts for every month, week, new moon, full moon. I also do private readings. I have a Patreon with all kinds of additional stuff. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian, and I host a show on Om Times Media called Celestial Compass. And next week we'll be looking at the Chinese Year of the Wood Snake.
Woohoo.
Andy.
I do the least of all of us, of course. My website is andrew-brewer.com. That's the place to find me, or on Facebook, where I rant, evidently. And that's Andrew Bassano Brewer. And I'm excited about today's show. I think it should be really entertaining, and I'm looking forward to it. Andrew-brewer.com is me. Here we go.
Okay, Kathy has her usual roundup of the news, and I think there's too much to mention everything, so we'll just do.
Right. I'm focusing on evidence of pushback. Okay, evidence of pushback. All right. So there was a executive order purporting to outlaw birthright citizenship, which is specifically granted by the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Other stuff going on there. There was immediately a TRO. Immediately, it's been paused. It will be, and there were immediately lawsuits filed from many directions for that, including I think some states. Mexico and Colombia both turned back military deportation flights. There's been a back and forth with Colombia. Canada and Mexico steel makers have started refusing orders from the U.S. The IGs, inspector generals that were fired, not following procedure. Even Chuck Grassley, ancient GOP member of the Senate, sent a letter saying, this is wrong, don't do this. Clark County, Nevada issued an election manipulation report. I believe that's where Las Vegas is.
And that's the also the county that smartelections.us focused on with their data analysis for this Russian tail trick. Yeah.
A few more things. Quakers are suing ICE. They're suing to stop the raids of churches as a violation of freedom of religion, First Amendment. Yay, Quakers. State Attorney General Association suing to stop that executive order that froze all federal funds. And then there was a reversal of it, sort of, not entirely. There's still stuff going on. Earlier today, the House Democrats were having a public meeting about it. Hakeem Jeffries was talking about it. And here's a nice one. The governor of Illinois has barred all people with a January 6th conviction from being hired by the state government for employment.
Wow.
In addition to, the usual course of events, dealing with many of them who are already back in jail or, in one case, no longer with us.
And just
suicide by
just in general, overall, things that I've read or witnessed on, I've been so busy, but just little parts. It's like, Hakeem Jeffries has pledged that they're going to fight in the streets. you know, um, I happened to catch a press conference with the Senate Dems and the on the committee for, um, his placements, saying that don't, you know, this man cannot be allowed. So there's generally a bit more of an air of like no and fight back in just popping up all over the place, I think. So, and Kathy's great examples there.
So there's a lot more. We know you're freaking. Please breathe.
Yeah,
Please
please, please. Yeah.
call your congressional delegation daily. Make them recognize your name as soon as you call. It
Yeah.
happened to me.
Oh, I can't get through to Mike Lee, but is that surprising?
Email.
Oh, yeah, I do, but whether they, yeah, anyway. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we
And if anyone's curious, I always have talking points. Okay. I had one friend who said, I don't know what to do. Where can you lead me? So I always post on Facebook and on the community page on my YouTube channel, today's call to Congress. And I have my language and you're free to use it.
yeah,
And I will tell you that I am focusing on things that are actually physically endangering health and welfare of citizens.
yeah,
And I want to take a slightly different take on this. It's not just to talk to congressmen, it's to take the initiative to talk to people around you. Let them know that this is nonsense. Let them know that you're not just going to allow this to happen. Let them know just how ridiculous these things are, and try to really frame what's happening within some kind of truth and not some sort of mythological conspiracy theory. So if you take the top-down approach, which is fantastic, still, if enough people who support Trump see that all of their neighbors go, dude, you're just a hot mess, and maybe they will reconsider. There
yeah,
has to be collective action. That can be economic action, boycotts, but it can also be kind of side-eyeing the people that support Trump and go, you really think that DEI caused this plane to crash into this helicopter? Really focus on logic.
yeah,
Trump's trying to create chaos so that people are fearful. The reason that the three of us do this show, in part, is to try to suggest, hey, you don't have to be afraid. These dudes are a hot mess. Nothing they do, if they follow it up, is going to really work. Okay? Keep focus on your personal power and on the power of you to initiate things and to be an example to those around you. The three of us try really hard to show that there's a way to go about this, even within Love and Light Land. There's a way to be empowered and political and try to be supportive. And I think for all of us who listen, for all of you who thankfully are listening to us and following us, I want you to take the same kind of messaging. You can make a change by your example. Other people may be afraid, but if you can find power within yourself, you can help them. So there are lots of things we can do. And Trump, the likelihood of him doing crazy things that lead to other disasters, if you put lunatics with a third grade education because they found Jesus in positions of influence, it's a pretty good chance that they might make some mistakes. And if enough people are afraid because they see planes falling out of the sky because there's nobody monitoring, air traffic, then they may have some pushback there too. So bottom line, don't give up.
and I want to quote Mark Elias just on that note. Thanks for triggering this. He's the guy, the election lawyer who runs Democracy Docket. I just caught one of his podcasts the other day, and he just said, "Stop belly aching," and that's a real Mars retrograde out of bounds in Cancer, which rules the stomach. It's no good like posting all the horrors that he's done on Facebook. It's like, this is kind of a big critical time, and you do have the power, as Andy said. So stop belly aching.
And I'll point out, after that egregious executive order that suddenly froze within like a day,
Oh,
money that people rely on to live,
yeah,
he pulled it back.
yeah,
Keep squawking.
yeah,
Speak up.
keep squawking and don't freak out every time he does something, because half of them are being reversed anyway. So most of them.
The freak out is the goal.
Oh, it is.
The freak
Yeah.
out is the strategy. And so what we're trying to say is really just don't let it impact you too badly.
Yeah.
Try to realize that this is a strategic initiative. They're trying to look over here, look over here. Don't look there, look over here. Well, look where they don't want you to look and pay attention and try to be supportive of your friends and neighbors and family and
And do
do
your
not let this.
self-care too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I guess I'm going to just say this real quickly, being political is spiritual.
It is.
Pointing out that there's an issue and trying to address it and do something about it is not lowering your vibration. It's taking the initiative to protect your world and make it better for yourself and those people you love and care about. So the idea that when we're political, we're not being spiritual people, I always maintain that spirituality and politics are the same thing.
Yeah.
So
I
there we go.
agree. I agree.
May I throw one last thing in? Based on what Andy just said about they want you to look over here, look over here. When something really egregious comes out, know that it's a smoke screen. That
For sure.
executive order freezing all the funds coincided with Canada's release of its election interference report.
Yes.
And they didn't know what was going to be in it, but take control of the news cycle, have everyone running around like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And meanwhile, what's going on over here? So I say to you, when you encounter the next, oh my God, I can't believe he just fill in the blank, no, it's a tell.
Oh, yeah.
Which will happen before we post this. So.
Oh, probably. I don't even look
For
at the
sure.
news through the day now. At the end of the day, I say, me and my husband look at each other and go, "Oh, what's come out today?" We're just like, "Oh, you know." It's like, anyway, let's move on to what we're doing today. So, do you want to look at the aspects on their own first?
Yes.
Or...
I'd like to explain the path that we're about to walk through.
So I'm going to get the chart up, and we're just going to kind of, I'm going to move the chart as we move through the path. So we're starting with this today, and I think this is going to reveal this North Node Neptune Venus conjunction. I've done a whole video on it, but I do have to tell you all because I think this is going to wake a lot of people up. They're kind of going to see, but also there's going to be more of this rampant confusion. But there's going to be a lot of grief and compassion rising, more importantly. Like, you know, the response to that plane and helicopter thing was just horrible. And I think, you know, if you are waking up and realizing you've been gaslit, Pisces, that's okay. Come back to the fold. Okay, so Cassie, you were sorry. I didn't want to just take over your
no.
list.
Oh no. And also, I want to explain to people at the very end of Venus and Neptune and the North Node are at the very end of the last sign of the zodiac, and they are in the sign of absolute interconnectedness. Also, water, and I didn't. This is a recipe for an event that opens hearts. It could be the sacrifice of the innocents, which is a really sad way to look at the U.S. figure skating team, those young kids and their families. But there's something here of immersing us in collective experience that begs for compassion and mercy and forgiveness and shows us how we are all in the same end of the pool. We're in the same ocean, we're in the same water, in the same hot tub, whatever you want. And this kind of vibe is going to come to the fore by the end of March in a huge, huge way, because we'll have a massive pileup of planets. So we've got a bookend event that's giving us a taste of something that will culminate in March. And you're going to hear us say March several times.
Yes.
And you can just stick it in your head. March.
I can't emphasize how big this conjunction is for people. You know, this is, A as well, Venus. This is her exaltation degree, by the way. And so Venus is exalted anyway in Pisces. This is just waves of compassion, but it's also revealing. Water washes away. So anyway, yeah,
and dissolves, disintegrates.
yeah,
But this particular configuration is going to return. We will experience this again at the end of March. So this softens this. And with this, I would encourage people to do things for other people,
yeah,
to get out of yourself, to look at, okay, it's not just me. I'm not the only one going through whatever. And it's incredible for imagination, for artistry, for like sitting in the tub and letting all kinds of thoughts come to you, and for acts of charity and kindness. These planets are near the location of Fred Rogers' sun, which was 29 Pisces. And he is known for saying, look for the helpers. Well, guess what? We are each looking for helpers and being helpers.
yes,
There's a duality in this.
yeah,
The thing that jumps out to me is this is a bowl chart. You've got everything's in half of the sky. So I think it's could get contentious. Could get like everybody's looking in one place, but there's a whole other world over here that might try to invade into our consciousness. Whenever I see planets like within half of the chart, that always makes me interested in what's in the other half. So what's behind the curtain here?
And that leads to the other really big thing that is kicking off our talk today. You can leave it where it is.
okay.
And that's Uranus.
Oh yeah,
Okay. All right. So Uranus, which rules Aquarius, it's a planet of surprises and alternate viewpoints. It rules electricity, technology. It's been in the sign of Taurus for a number of years. Uranus stationed direct January 30th. It has
exactly this point to the minute. Yeah, so it's still at that. Yeah,
it's still there. So it went retrograde at the beginning of September. It hit this magical degree of 23 Taurus on December 20th. Yeah, December 20th. And it will not move off this degree until what month did I say? March. So there's this rumbling in the ground, things changing, things shifting, some kind of it's like lightning is hitting the ground, lightning is hitting trees, lightning is hitting something that is going to increasingly come to light. I've been saying this is like the theme from Jaws has kicked up a notch. Just remember this because it's going to play into a chart that we look at. So just know that we've started a process of stuff that's been disrupted or needs to be disrupted, or things involving money or resources and rogue influences. There's a process that has started that's only going to grow and grow and grow and grow. And it takes us through the next 2 months.
yep.
Okay, that's a big one. All right, so then on the 3rd, Mercury trines Jupiter as it is stationing direct. Now, Mercury is a planet of what goes in and out of our mouths. It rules the media. It rules communication, information, messages. I don't know, votes, things like that. And it will be exactly trining Jupiter as Jupiter stations direct. Now, I want to point out, before I get into Jupiter and its retrograde, Mercury has had a really interesting relationship with retrogrades lately. In December, when Mercury finished its retrograde, it was in a trine, or like this unbroken flow, easy flow, direct current with Mars, planet of action, as Mars went retrograde. So the Mars retrograde got a send off from, okay, now go investigate all this info that we have. And now at the beginning of February, as Jupiter is completing its retrograde, it gets an assist from Mercury, and Mercury rules the sign that Jupiter is in. So I would expect information to be coming out since Jupiter has been retrograde since October 9th. So that takes us through, guess what month? And when in the election cycle. So there is a strong probability of information involving technology because Mercury is in Aquarius, and it may come from multiple sources because Jupiter is in Gemini, sign of multiplicity, coming as and this also, like, it powers up the direct station. It's like it makes it bear down more and more and more, and makes it more into a slingshot as it moves forward. Now, part of why I have gone on so long about Mercury having these trines is later in February, when Mars goes direct, Mercury will again make a trine to Mars as it's stationing direct. So each of these retrogrades, the one December, and now this one ending, and then the Mars one ending. The Mars one began with Mercury handing off something. Mars went away, did a bunch of research. Now on the 23rd, Mars is going to go direct, and Mercury is going to say, okay, fling, and there'll be another slingshot like dispersing of information, and it could involve, and that one is going to involve water planets. There'd be homeland security issues. Anyway, that's just a pointer ahead. So I'm now deluge people, but this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
And we're in the waxing moon. We're heading towards a full moon, so everything's full on, like, take action, do stuff. It's like, anyway, go on.
Right. So then we all get fired up, like, oh, I'm not waiting for anybody. On the 4th, as Jupiter is formally stationing direct, Venus moves into Aries. So Venus leaves this sweet, I see God in everyone, exalted, mermaidy position in Pisces, and moves into Aries, which is, warrior princess. It's Wonder Woman. It's get out of my way. I'm not waiting for anyone to get me what I need. Don't hold that door for me. I'm doing it myself. And this affects the social vibe. It affects the way we interact with each other. So there'll still be this kind of watery energy floating around, but this feistiness and this steam and this people just getting up and doing things and not waiting for someone else to do it for them. Do you get the drift here?
Can I add an aspect to that? That's so retrograde and out of bounds. Mars also squares Chiron in Mars' home sign. And that also speaks to me about people saying, well, if it is to be, it's up to me, or I've got to take the lead, I've got to play my part, I've got to seize the day. It's all that kind of energy.
And that's also because Mars is in Cancer, taking action to protect those you love.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not just sitting back and letting white boy dominance come and do all these things to me. Ooh,
and of course, his Chiron's still at the degree of the eclipse from last April the 8th too. So, it's chickens are coming home to roost, but it's up to us, the people, I think. So anyway.
Well, as Venus enters Aries on the 4th, and every time a planet changes signs right now, the first body that it encounters is Pluto, because Pluto is the outer planet at earliest degrees. So on the 7th, a few days into Venus's time in Aries, it's going to make a sextile or a window or an opportunity aspect to Pluto. Now, these are both planets of desire and money. Pluto's the, like tractor beam level or deep stuff. There are all kinds of things this could be. but people could get very, very focused. Individuals could get very, very focused on what it is they have to go do
Yeah,
with this. And it's going to be different for everybody.
it is. Mm-hmm.
If you have, Andy, jump in if you see or have any comment on any of this.
Well,
Otherwise, I'm just
I would just kind of say, how our audience could really kind of navigate that Venus aspect to Pluto. Incidentally, 2 degrees is the degree of the next Venus star point too. That's on March the 22nd. But but Venus and Pluto, they have a real kind of energy of really kind of tapping in deep into your personal empowerment. And in fire and air, that's saying, I've got to do something to my mind. It's really adding that kind of real inner push. Um, of course, it could also reveal more shadow that will inspire people to do something. So there's that too. Sorry,
and
Anne.
it should
Yeah.
be a really noisy day because the moon will be in Gemini exactly trine Mercury in Aquarius. So I would imagine that social media and the news and people
Oh,
just texting, talking, and thinking will be incredibly active.
and the moon's gone out of bounds again by this point too, at lunar maximum. So the moon will cross Jupiter, aspect Mercury, which is the ruler of Gemini, and then the sun. Yeah. Oh, so much information overload and people saying stuff. And oh, and square Saturn too. But anyway, yep.
So there's one other thing that is embedded in this particular day, February 7th, that then kind of goes through the 9th. So from 7th, 8th, and 9th, the Sun and Mercury are traveling close together. They will actually fuse on the 9th, which you'll hear called Cazimi. They'll be right next to each other. But as they're traveling, each of them is making an adjustment aspect to Mars. So there's something where we adjust how we're going about things. We adjust our thinking. We are kind of forced to, well, if we're thinking this, then we need to walk our talk. But there's some kind of tweak that happens that then leads to two things. On the 9th, the Sun and Mercury fuse, and I think that brings incredible clarity to yourself, clarity to your own thinking, but just clarity in the air. Something gets crystallized, and as it gets crystallized, Mars trines Saturn. Mars is in a direct current with Saturn now. Mars is retrograde.
This is such a noisy day, as you said. I also want to add that Ceres and Uranus square off to each other on that same day, just a few hours earlier than this. And Uranus is at the discovery degree of Ceres. So this is a potent degree for her. And she is grief, loss, forgiveness, but also needs met and unmet. I think by the end of next week, people are just going to go, this is not meeting anybody's needs, and we have to make sure our needs are met. So anyway.
And the Mars-Saturn trine on the 9th is a moment that could be really important because Saturn imposes order.
Yep.
Saturn's the government. Mars takes action. Mars attacks. It could go either way. It could be some imposition of some new heinous thing, or could be both. I don't know, military class stepping up and saying, no, you don't.
Well, there could, the military might say, no, we're not going to take 30,000 migrants to Guantanamo or something. It could be that kind of thing, which is what's being proposed. But anyway, Andy, any thoughts on that day? That day's just nuts, to be honest.
So Mars is in sort of a soft space, retrograde in a maternal sign, Cancer. Venus is in Mars's happy place in Aries. When people are motivated by fear, they tend to shut down until it becomes oppressive, and then they get fiery and they're cornered and they take action. When Venus goes into Aries is when I believe that people will begin to take action because the fear meter will have already started to rise. When Mars goes direct and moves out of Cancer back into Leo, that's when it should get entertaining. But fear is Trump's collateral, but he may be playing it in an inappropriate way for his desires and the desires of those people who are supporting him. I maintain that people are going to have a lot of things to fear and they will not back down and it will get wild. So we'll see. But I think that the Mars Venus energy here, I think Venus going into Aries is a big deal. Yes. And I think Mars and Leo will be a bigger deal.
And I just wanted to add one other little thing. I'm going to take it.
Oh, there we go.
But this is Centaur Nessus, who is abuses of power. And Saturn, Mars trying Nessus and Saturn. That as we approach the end of next week, we're going to see all this building, aren't we, guys? And of course, I always like to bring my numbers into. So this is at a 9, which is an ending of a cycle, and we're in a 9-year. I think things are going to be revealed. That's just so bad that people are just going to no. Anyway.
There's also the idea, excuse me, real quickly.
Oh, no, go
There's
ahead.
also the idea that these revelations are going to happen on the world stage, something the three of us have talked about consistently for the last 3 months.
Yep.
At some point, you would think that the external pressure on the United States to at least say the same thing 2 days in a row will mount and mount and mount. If there is enough pressure externally from the EU, from Canada, Mexico, China, whoever, and the United States is forced to take retrograde action, basically. Right now, everything is basically a psychodrama to make Trump look good in his craziness. If there is enough pressure outside, which I expect, then will that have an impact on the ways in which Trump and the United States can operate internally and on the world stage? I believe it will. And that's likely to happen, in my opinion, when Mars goes into Leo. So we'll see.
Well,
all right.
We've got a deal before then. So 10th, 11th, and 12th. That talk about revelations. We have not seen anything yet.
Yeah.
So on the 10th, after the Sun and Mercury have had their meeting and they've fused, and there's suddenly like this clarity of messaging, and they're still close together. They each square Uranus.
They do. So there's the Sun Mercury, 20 almost 21 degrees for everybody looking, and then let's I'll just put one of them. So then the Sun, well, Mercury first squares Uranus and then the Sun. But also remember, I mentioned that this is the discovery degree of Ceres, which is a potent degree because of the chart at the time as well. And, Ceres and Mercury are there together as well by then. Everything's kind of coming to a head, shall we say.
This is information breaking open. It involves money. It involves technology. It involves collectives. This may be the global piece coming to a head. And then on the 12th, it locks into the Leo full moon. So at the full moon, the Sun and the moon are opposite. The Sun is with Ceres and Mercury, and Uranus is monkey in the middle. This is a T-square with this information from both ends bearing down equally, and it's got to go out somewhere, somehow. This is incredibly explosive. Whatever the dramas are that have been unsustainable, that have been insane, that have been reality TV blow open at this point.
Yeah.
In your own life, you will find that if you have been feeling taken for granted or unappreciated or stuck in a corner or having your own voice stifled, there are going to be a lot of people exiting situations with this. It's like, nope, not putting up with anymore. Huge, not putting up with vibe to this full moon.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, and apparently the tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China are beginning tomorrow. So there's going to be part of what we're talking about. So,
So anything about this lineup before we put it around a certain chart, Andy?
no, no, I'm happy. And yeah, you, Andy. Yeah.
So this is going to blow up Trump's chart.
Mm.
This full moon. We can look at other stuff, but I think if we just put the full moon around it,
Yep.
because look at the top of his chart, 10th house. That's his the doorway to his place in the world, his career, his public reputation, and also where his roots are. Uranus up there has been moving across that spot a couple of times, and now that it has stationed direct, it's edging. The pressure for the third pass is getting higher and higher and higher, and the sun and the moon are straddling his Mars. He'd probably be angry as you know what, but something's blowing, and it has become, it can't go on anymore the way it has been after this moon or because of this moon.
I'm adding Algol because I know somebody in the comments will go, isn't it coming up to Algol too? So yes, there you go.
Yes.
I'll just put that in for people.
Now it won't, Uranus will not technically actually sit on his midheaven until, what month have I been saying? March. But this is the Jaws theme, all right? Stuff that's been building and building since October is getting louder and louder and louder, and Uranus is in his house of legalities and foreign dealings.
Yep. And on the full moon as well, Mars is at the degree it will station direct at and is square to his Jupiter in Libra. So balance, justice, Jupiter's the judge or Santa Claus, whichever you want. There's many things you could say about this, but that's a tense aspect too.
Andy, shut me up.
No, you're doing good. Just keep going.
No. I'm ready for other input.
No.
Well, I mean, I've been pretty consistent in what I think about Trump. I think Trump is probably struggling a little bit, and that he's not really running the show right now. People behind him are running the show. Elon Musk, Project 2025, whatever that initiative is, the push to privatize the United States and go run the Brinks, truck up to the Treasury and drive on. I think that for the short term, he will probably continue in his back and forth kind of dynamic. But I do believe that, again, there will be problems external to the United States that will have an impact. I think Trump is, I've said this many times, there is a energetic kind of mass above his right here, above his left eye. It's probably suggestive of prefrontal lobe issues, neurological issues. We'll see if that plays out. But I think that people are going to see more and more things they're not used to, more planes falling out of the sky or something, more and more things that are just not normal, not safe. And I think at that point, there will be a pushback. I still maintain that Trump's long-term future is not a great one. So we'll see as it plays out.
A couple of other things I'd love to mention on this full moon is that Saturn and in the days leading up to it is square his Uranus too. So that's kind of radical breaks and kind of endings as well, in my opinion. Venus is exactly opposing his Neptune in Libra, and of course Libra is Venus sign. That's kind of a woman or women coming at him, I kind of think, and exposing him. I did see or one of the DAs or whatever talking about him again. And there's a lot of women, um, like, people in the States are speaking up and saying, no, you're not doing this as well. But also that Venus Neptune North Node conjunction that we started this look through the aspects on is right on the cusp of his eighth house. And the eighth house is shared resources, but it's always kind of all in shamanic terms, it's sort of like deep soul and that soul loss in there. I kind of think it's like that dissolving.
It's other people's money. It's also a
Yeah,
house of criminality.
yeah. All the houses have so many kind of things. And I started by saying that Venus Neptune North Node is going to kind of see, people are going to see the clouds clearing, I think. It's going to be so much. And yeah, anyway.
Well, this is a pivotal moment. All right. This is a turning point, a no going back moment. And Uranus up there knocking on the door to his public reputation. By the time it's been that's the wrecking ball, and it's been going back and forth, over, back again, and the tension is going to get, it's inescapable. That's why I said the Jaws theme.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
and it's unsustainable.
Yeah, yeah. Even for somebody who's been Teflon before. This is pressure. I would say this is probably pressure on his heart too, with the full moon in the sun and that all that in the house of health. All this coming at him is going to be not good for his heart, shall we say?
Well, with the house system you use, Saturn rules his house of health, and it's going to have just made this really harsh aspect to Uranus. In the house system I use, Aquarius rules his house of health, which is ruled by Uranus. So either way, either house system, something's coming up a couple of 10 days or so into February that could be very, very challenging to him physically.
Yes.
And sudden.
Andy, any thoughts on that astrology for that? The full moon does not look good for him, I have to say.
I still think that the pushback, just I don't mean to repeat myself, I still maintain that Trump does not match the collective energy of the United States, and that leads to long-term problems for him. And I think that it's likely that this cycle, starting after the full moon, there could be more and more unusual things happening that expose the lack of competency of people positioned within the United States government. And I think that there will be a pushback from people going, we didn't sign up for this. We didn't realize you could break it quite this badly. And I think that incrementally, things don't go so well. I mean, that's my hope, but my job is not to be hopeful. My job is to try to be analytical. I just think that there are potential problems. And I think they happen like every 6 to 8 weeks. I think it just ramps up, because my expectation is that there will be problems, disasters, things that didn't go so well every month or so. That will be like newsworthy, and that will be a buildup to whether you finally be like, you can only say let them eat cake so many times, and then people storm the Bastille, and then it's game on. It could get wild. I don't expect it to come to that point. However, I do think that the collective response is not going to be supportive of what they're trying to do. And I think his strategy of trying to do this bait and switch thing is not working for him as well as it used to. And I think that's a problem for him. So that's all I have.
As you're saying that, I want to point out the by degrees, his Mars is at 26 degrees Leo, and at the full moon, it will exactly oppose Mercury at 26 Aquarius, and both of them form a T-square to transiting Algol at 26 up there at the top of the chart.
God, it's exact almost to the minute. Wow.
That's something happens he does not recover from.
Yes.
And I think politically.
Oh,
Something, I mean, it could fall off his head, but something happens politically less than like 3 weeks into his sitting on that in that office
I
that I
agree.
don't think recovers.
I totally agree, Kathy. I think, I don't think we're going to have to wait months for the big pushback, personally. Mm-mm.
And the pushback will turn into the push out.
Hmm.
I'll just say it.
Mm.
He's too firmly entrenched to just run him out of town in 3 days.
Yeah.
There has to be push back in different pockets, and it cannot be a full frontal assault. It has to arise in a multiplicity of ways.
Mm.
I mean, he's here now, and he's causing tremendous destruction. That destruction, in and of itself, is going to lead to um, making things more difficult to push back and make an effective change, in my opinion. So I don't see him being just out, like in a week or two. I think this goes on for a while. But there's Trump in office, and there's the ability to push through the initiatives that they wish to push through. These are two very different things. So Trump being in office does not guarantee that what he and the people who support him are trying to achieve will actually happen. That's what I'm talking about. I think that people will see that this is just not what we signed up for, not what we thought. Hey, maybe we don't want to go along with this quite as well, that there will be more and more people saying we're not doing it quite this way, and that will probably slow down their train. Trump is trying to do a bunch of things real fast, kind of like throwing a bunch of stuff up on the wall and see what sticks.
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of it's going to stick in the way in which they hope, and that's why I do think it will be incremental over a little bit of a period of time. Also, the midterm elections are likely to be very different as well. I mean, we'll see, but that's still ways off.
So, yeah, overall, I would love to, because I think, this is really all we want to look at this week, because
Right.
we've all got busy lives, and I'm sorry we can't keep up to a week, but the next few days, it's February the 1st tomorrow, so the next, just less than 2 weeks are going to be awful chaos. And I think there's going to be a lot of grief and people going, oh my God, But I think we're kind of, that's waking people up. That would be my kind of, and it's not good for him. So that would be my summation. What about you guys?
Take care of yourself, spend time with people that whose company you enjoy, do something that if you're artistic,
Mm,
create this Venus Neptune and
yeah,
Venus Neptune North Node. This is the way to the future. I always say the North Node has a sign saying this way to the future.
yeah.
So, we're getting doused in, dunked in. We're all in this together,
Write
and it'll
write
come
a
back.
write a protest song, or paint a protest, picture or something, yeah, whatever gets it out.
Being strong and calm
Mm,
in a sea of chaos is very important.
Mhm.
mm.
People need us, not just the three of us, but they need everyone as much as possible to maintain that sense of calmness and clarity
Mm,
and to be exemplary for other people, to
abs-
try to help other people who may not be able to deal with the stress quite as well as you can. I think it's important for people when they're trying to make positive change to recognize that just being kind and kind of having your head together is a positive thing for a lot of people. And I think that if we can do that on an individual level, we will make a difference. You cannot save every whale, but perhaps you can make conditions better for
mm,
one whale. You cannot change everything all at one time, but you can do small, consistent, incremental things that will make people feel safer, happier, more secure. And if we all continue to do that, we will make a difference and we will offset the madness that is being pushed towards us.
yeah.
We do not all have to go crazy just because it's in style. Maintain your sense of self, maintain your belief in yourself, but try to stay calm for other people who may not be able to stay as calm as you can. In doing that, you will make a significant difference and you will help to offset what is really a cash grab by a bunch of people who want to look at the United States as a business rather than as a protective shield for an entire nation. So that's my speech for that.
And find your people, join your mix with people that make you feel better as well. Okay, all right, till next week. Okay, peace out.